Hello guys and welcome back to Big Brother, and today we are going to be talking all things double eviction. And the reason why we're going to be talking about that is because I was there, guys. I was there, I know, shocker. But we are going to talk about all of that crazy stuff. But first, we've got a shopping task to talk about and then the double eviction. So make sure you stick around for that and let's just get straight into talking about it, shall we? So the challenge was essentially a Halloween themed bad brother kidnapped Big Brother and took over the house and forced Farida, Richard and Tasia to dress up like Nazi soldiers. Like it was a little bit on the nose. I felt like I thought it was a little bit but you know what? It wasn't exactly that bad, but it did kind of give those vibes off, and I was a bit like, okay, this is not great. But anyway, the challenge was actually quite entertaining. It was nice to see evil Big Brother come back, do you know what I mean? It would be nice if they did like a whole season like this rather than just half a day, because I was sitting there and I was like, it finished at like 9:22. By that point, they were all out of their costumes. The house was back to normal. And I was kind of like, oh, surely this should have been like a 2-day shopping task. Like, that would have been so much more entertaining to see them all like have to slum it overnight and things like that. It just would have been a lot more entertaining. But you know what? Clearly, that's not the case, so it's what it is. But the challenge itself was funny. There were multiple different aspects to it. We're going to talk about the whole sort of like bad news segment later. But there was a segment in which Nancy, Marcus, Sam and Jenny had to correctly identify quotes from other people in the house that came up. And some of them are going to cause drama, obviously. Some of them are not. Jenny got outed for the whole thing that she said about Cameron, and I think Cameron was a little bit upset, but I think Jenny sort of smoothed that over. But then the main thing that everybody seemed to take issue with was Sam saying something on the lines of like, oh, I'm gonna start playing the game now, or something like that, or the game's on, or something. That was the quote, and it was from Sam. And that's gonna come up a little bit later, and I will talk about it, but I just think it's pathetic. I think it is a game. You are in the house to play a game. And if you're being honest with the audience about playing the game, then I don't see an issue with it personally. That's why I've not got an issue with Caroline playing the game, because she's open and honest about the fact that I'm playing the game. And I'm like, yeah, fair game. And everyone's like, oh, it's rigged for Caroline that she managed to get immunity for 3 weeks in a row. Hey, the first one, I'll give you that. She did have the most balls, so nobody else could bet higher than her. Second time, that was just everybody not using their currency and buying it to stop her getting it. So how are we surprised? If she went for the 2-week immunity and then she went for another week of immunity, yeah, of course she is. Of course she is. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want to willingly go up for eviction knowing that you're hated by the public? I wouldn't. I'd be getting them immunities as well. I mean, they should be on offer in the first place, but this is all besides the point. Either way, the people were getting dunked on, and it was very, very funny to watch them all get dunked on. I did find it extremely funny to watch. But yeah, it was an interesting challenge, and definitely helped by the fact that Farida, Richard and Tasia were loving playing these evil characters for the day. So next up, they had to sit in the room and they had to like choose housemates to have bad things happen to them. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. The first one was the housemate to have bad credit. So they chose Caroline and bankrupted her, which I feel like was fair. I mean, obviously, Caroline did that to Richard earlier on in the series, so it's only fair that Richard did it back to her. Then the person who got bad smell was Sam, and they had to hang around Nancy. I was a bit like, okay, that's cool, that's fine. Bad luck was given to Caroline, and she had to spin a wheel. She could either lose her bed, her nominations, or her photo, and she ended up losing her photo, which I think out of the 3 was probably the nicest one, and she lucked out. And then this is where I had a little bit of a problem with Richard, okay? Now, I know Richard is loved by the masses, but that doesn't mean that I can just blindly love him and accept everything he says just with good faith, do you know what I mean? He said that, oh, he wants her to lose her bed because she made him lose his bed when she gave him the evil eye. Let's not rewrite history, Richard. You could have passed that evil eye on to somebody else who could have sent it all the way back to Caroline, okay? You chose to keep that evil eye to make up for the fact that you had shafted everybody in the first challenge by taking 50 eyes. The most eyes out of anybody you took when you didn't even do that much. All you did was sit on your backside and inspect a couple of eyes. So really, if we're being honest, that was a gameplay move that you chose to first of all take the eyes and then be the martyr and say, oh, I'll go up for nomination this week, or I'll go up for eviction this week. Oh, I'll save you guys. But let's not try and put that on Caroline, because you could have taken that away from yourself and given it to somebody else, but you chose not to. So really, I have no sympathy for you there. I'm sorry. So you wanting her to lose her bed, that's just sour lemons for your decision at the end of the day. Anyway, moving on. Bad news was given to Emily. And I was really hoping that this was, Emily, you have been evicted. Or Emily, you are going up for eviction this week, facing the public vote. Because I was like, listen, this public vote is already stressing me out. It's a double with 3 people that are a good asset to the house. And I was a bit like, I don't really know what's going to happen here. So all that happened was her letter from home was shredded. So I was a little bit disappointed with the outcome. But you know what? It is what it is at the end of the day. And you just got to kind of accept it. But they did manage to pass the task from what I understand. They got the keys, they freed Big Brother, and it was fine. Yeah, cool. And then they got another takeaway. And I was thinking, you know what? This is actually a piss take, because you just had a takeaway yesterday for Farida's special mission. And then you're getting a takeaway tonight, and you're getting Nando's. A little bit of a piss take, if you ask me. Like, just a little bit. And it's actually pissing me off, because I was sitting there at like 9 PM watching it thinking, well, I want a Nando's. I was having one the next day, to be fair, before I went to the Big Brother eviction. But either way, I wanted a Nando's then and there, and I wasn't happy about it. This is why I think Zila needed to go. This scene here proved to me why they needed to go, why he needed to leave the house. Because I am getting sick and tired, and it's only really been happening in the last week, but maybe I've only noticed it in the last week because Faishola hasn't been here. But it started last week with the whole plane task, and him sort of taking authority with Caroline and calling her out on behalf of Farida, when Farida was like, it was chill, it was fine, I didn't need to, like, have this brought up, do you know what I mean? Because he's done the same thing with Richard now. And I'm not being funny, but Richard and Farida are old enough to have words with people if they feel like they're being treated a certain way. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. Okay, we're going to talk more about Richard and the whole bullying situation in a little bit, because I have some words, choice words to say about that. But Zila going up to Sam and saying that he feels like it's contradictory for him to nominate somebody for game playing when he himself has said that he is playing a game. This is Sam, right? Why do I not think that's contradictory? Purely because Sam is calling somebody out for game playing when they haven't been honest about it, okay? And that's how I feel. I do feel like Richard is playing a game. I think he's playing a bloody good game, but I think he's definitely playing a game. Like I said, the nicking the balls in the first week before they really knew the impact of the balls, that to me was gameplay. Taking the evil eye and being up for nomination or eviction that week just made it clear to me that he was wanting to be the martyr. And then obviously this whole thing between him and Caroline, he knows it's a good storyline. He knows it's going to be good on TV. That's why I don't think he's talking about it, or why he's expressing discomfort or upset about the fact that he's being bullied. I think he is aware so much more than people give him credit for. And they see this sweet, innocent man. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. He seems lovely. Don't get me wrong. Please do not get me wrong. I think he's genuinely lovely. But I also think that to be on this show, you have to have an element of gameplay, right? There's a 100,000 grand. There's 100,000 grand. There's 100,000 pounds up for offer. Why would you not at least play a little bit of a game? And that's what Sam's saying. Sam is being open and honest with us, the audience, that he's playing the game. He's making moves that will put him further in the game. That's what I think the distinction is. His nomination was for the fact that he feels like Richard is game playing, but he's not being honest about game playing. Whereas Sam is being honest about game playing. We've just seen him get exposed in front of the house and he's like, yeah, I am playing a game. Cool. Whatevs. Sure. Whatever. That, I feel like, is the difference. But what I'm disappointed with is Zila having to be the voice for other people in the house. He did not need to have that conversation with Sam on behalf of Richard. Because it all stemmed from Tasia and Zila being like, I think this is starting to become bullying and it's not becoming fun. And there's like a little clique in this house that is causing all of this. And so Zila felt he had the necessary place in the house to go up to Sam and have that conversation with him. And no wonder Sam was pissed off, because how are you accusing me of bullying when I thought you knew me better than that? Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Zila, if I'm being honest. Don't get me wrong. Again, lovely guy, but just the last week has really soured my opinion on him, sadly. I feel like he almost inserts himself into situations and makes them so much worse, when if the person who it affected was really that upset or really that uncomfortable with it, they would have had that conversation themselves. And that's how I feel. Now, my notes for the eviction are scratched. Like, I did not have anything, because obviously you can't really write when you're in the audience. So I've only got a couple of minor points, both of which revolve around Sam. The first one is the whole Dishgate, okay? Beangate is what I think I called it while we were there. It was, frankly, quite ridiculous, okay? And I have to be honest, I think that Tate and Marcus made this so much worse than it needed to be, okay? What happened was, Sam had obviously left his beans on the side just by the sink and was going to go wash it up later, but was in the middle of a conversation with Nancy and Caroline. Tate and Marcus have come in, seen that there's an unwashed bowl, and have kicked off and gone around the house being like, whose bowl is this? Sam has obviously forgotten that he's left the bowl there. So he's just been like, no, I'm sure I've done mine or whatever. I scraped my beans into the bin, so if there's beans in there, then it's not mine. And I just feel like he just was not focusing on that. He was in the conversation because he's obviously upset about the whole Zila situation, which we'll talk about again in a second. So Tate then just made things 10 times worse by being like, oh, just being pissy basically about it. First of all, it's not that deep. It's one dish. If it was a whole spread of dishes, if there was like 5 or 6 or 7, like, that's fine. But one bowl, do we really need to kick up a fuss about one bowl being left on the side? Okay? All he needs to do was say, whoever it is, just make sure it's cleaned up, please, because I'm not going to be doing it. That's all that needs to be said, and then it would have been done later on when Sam realised, oh my god, that's my bowl, whoopsie, my bad. But it all just kicked off, and Sam obviously was not in a good place because of the whole Zila situation, and I feel like he just got pissed off very, very quickly. And I gotta say, if I've got somebody coming at me for a bloody bowl, I'm going to get pissy myself. And like, the fact that Tate was like, oh, I'll give you the grace for today, okay? I'll let it slide this time. Sorry, who gives you the authority to let things slide? Sorry, you're not the dishwasher police, do you know what I mean? Like, it actually did wind me up something chronic, purely because I was sitting there going, who gives you the right to dictate when and where dishes get done? Do you know what I mean? Okay? It's not your dish. It will get done. Okay? You kicking off about it is really frustrating. Like, really frustrating. Like I said, if it was multiple dishes, multiple mugs, all of that, then I would have been like, you know what? Fair game. Kick off. Kitchen's a state. It's one bloody bowl, mate. It's one bowl. It really didn't need to be kicked up a fuss. Do you know what I mean? And it's just made me dislike Tate even more. I gotta say, I'm not Sam's biggest fan. I'm not. And I can understand why people don't like Sam. But equally, in this situation, I was so on Sam's side. Like, so unbelievably on Sam's side. Because I just thought, why are you being a dick about this? Like, actually, why are we being a dick about this? So, Zila and Sam are still having a little spat. And, like, it all ended up being fine in the end. But I just feel like Zila, I feel, makes things so much deeper than they need to be. I mean, Sam himself said, like, I don't like the fact that he's accusing me of bullying Richard because, like, I know what bullying feels like. And I also know that I would not do that. And that's why I also believe that it's not bullying. I think there's a difference between bullying and making snarky comments. Do you know what I mean? It's not bullying. We all make snarky comments to people at some point in our life. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like the only reason why we're making this such a big deal, and also the reason why it's not being picked up by Big Brother and Big Brother are being like, this is not okay, is purely because this is where it gets frustrating for me. Richard literally said, okay, in the snug with Zila, that yes, what Caroline can say in group settings can sometimes be mean, but he knows that it's not anything serious. He used the words, I know it's just pantomime, which in my head means that he knows that Caroline is constructing this storyline, this feud, for drama in the series, and he's playing along with it because it's pantomime. He said himself those words, and then he said, when we're one-on-one, me and Caroline, absolutely fine, but when we're in a group setting, that's when the snarky comments come out. So it just proves to me that she's doing it for the cameras, for the show, and that there is a baseline understanding between Caroline and Richard that they do not dislike each other, and this is just for the show. That is how I feel about the situation, and that scene concluded it. If Richard had been going into the diary room every single episode and going, you know what, that's really hurt my feelings, actually, I'm very upset about this. He hasn't, though. He's expressed minor frustration over the fact that Caroline's up to her antics again, but it genuinely does feel like he's aware that she is not being a bully. She is just doing this for the purposes of a TV show. And I think he knows that. And that's why he hasn't gone to Big Brother to bitch and complain about it and to get upset. And it's also why he's not gone to Sam or Nancy, because he's like, do you know what? It isn't that deep. It isn't. Okay? So everyone who's calling it bullying on the outside, I feel like we need to take a chill pill. We need to listen to Richard and take our sort of action from him. If he considers it to be pantomime, we need to consider it to be pantomime as well. And that is the most important part. And this is also what frustrates me about Zila, is because Zila's had this conversation with him, but is still trying to make it out to be something that it's not. Hey, that is just my opinion on the matter, and I don't think I will shift from that. Like I said, do I think Caroline is a nice person? No. I think she has shown that there are definitely flaws to her character. But do I believe that she is bullying this man with malicious intent? No. I think she's just trying to rile him up and trying to get something out of him. I think he's not given her that, and that's what makes it such a great tit for tat. If you can't watch this show without calling it a bully, then I feel like you need to go to CBBS. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we're not here for Big Brother, because there have been many instances of bullying on Big Brother. I mean, Jade Goody is a very good example. May she rest in peace, but she's a very good example of what bullying looks like on this show. Snarky comments and just subtle digs about him being boring is not what constitutes bullying, okay? When you are aggressive towards someone, when you're nasty with vitriol, like Jade Goody was towards, I want to say her name was Shulpa, but I could be very, very wrong. That obviously is bullying. Stephen Bear, bullying. I would even go as far as to say last series there was an element of bullying towards Ali, where they made her life a living hell in that house. Richard is not receiving that treatment from Caroline. It's just petty comments from her, and that's how he views it. That's my say. That's my say on the matter. That's my say. I'm done. So, being in the audience, the evictions were actually kind of crazy, I can't lie. The evictions were crazy. First of all, Farida, absolutely lovely woman. Great woman. She knows how to stir drama up. She gave Caroline her balls upon exit, and I thought, yes, that's what we want. We want you to stir drama up in that house. Good. Well done, Farida. I know many people were upset, but think about it this way. If she gets that past the final, Caroline, that means that we get to see her leave the house and we can boo her, okay? If she accidentally goes in a backdoor eviction next week, I'm holding everybody personally accountable. Do you know what I mean? She's not going to win. And if she does, many of y'all are performative, okay? All of y'all are out on Twitter going, ooh, Caroline's the worst. She's a bully. Get out of here. But clearly, someone's voting to keep her in. Hey, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, moving on. Farida's exit was great. Had a great time. We were all cheering her on the outside. Then the Zila one. Now, the Zila one was interesting because there was a lot of booing. There was a lot of booing going on for Zila. And I was kind of surprised. And obviously, because you're there in the pantomime, you join in on it. And then, obviously, he's sitting there shitting himself, going, oh, why does everyone hate me? And then he comes out to the biggest cheer ever. Honestly, I think he got a bigger cheer than Farida. We knew he was leaving the house, do you know what I mean? We knew he was leaving the house, but we wanted to mix things up, do you know what I mean? If we boo him before he leaves the house, that's going to send everybody in the house into a spiral. What's going on in the outside world? That's what the plan was, do you know what I mean? Or that's what I think the subconscious plan of everybody was. He knows he's loved. He knows he's loved because of the reception that he got when he walked out of the house to raucous cheers, okay? So, really, you just got to remember, it's all pantomime, bestie. It's all pantomime. But it was kind of crazy seeing how many people were genuinely chanting, get, like, Zila out with vim and vigor. I was like, whoa, I did not realize that people genuinely disliked him that much. But equally, I think there were a lot of Richard fans there. No one was really like, get Farida out, to be fair. I think one woman went, get Farida out. And, oh, no, someone said, get Jenny out. And I went, oi. And they looked at them and they were like, I was like, I'm shutting that down right now. But anyway, those two have been evicted. Not really much else to say. I think this will definitely shake the house up. And listen, if you don't want to watch the show, don't watch the show. Do you know what I mean? If you can't hack some mean people in the house or some sort of like petty comments from Caroline, then hey, maybe Big Brother isn't for you. But this is... listen, I would much rather watch this than watch 6 boring people in the house, do you know what I mean? 6 incredibly dull, boring people that have nothing to give, okay? I would rather watch people who are going to produce drama and making reality show entertaining, do you know what I mean? But that is it. That is it. Thank you very much for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys do so unbelievably well, and I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now. See ya.